She never expected the world to tilt on its axis with just a few words, but that's exactly what happened the moment Lucas Randall looked at her with those distant, piercing blue eyes. Amelia had trusted him, laughed with him, shared secrets she hadn't told a soul. But in that penthouse office high above the city, bathed in the golden glow of sunset, he seemed like a stranger. "I was just playing with you," he said, his tone flat, devoid of warmth, as though the months they had spent together meant nothing. The words weren't cruel, they were emptily final, slicing through her chest like ice. She remembered the late-night talks, the quiet laughter, the soft moments that had felt like forever. She remembered the tenderness, the care he had shown, the vulnerability he had let her see. And now all of it dissolved into nothing. Her hands trembled, clutching themselves as if to hold together what was breaking inside her. You didn't mean any of it?" she whispered, voice cracking, exposing every ounce of hope she had invested in him. Lucas blinked, almost bored. "No, I told you from the start I wasn't looking for anything serious." Serious? The word hovered like a guillotine, reminding her how deeply she had misread him. She turned, heart pounding, needing to escape the glass walls, the sunset, the man who had just erased her entire world. What she didn't yet know, what she couldn't even imagine, was that she wasn't leaving alone. A tiny life had begun quietly, secretly, within her. A life that would transform heartbreak into hope, despair into courage, and grief into a story far greater than she could ever have envisioned. The days that followed felt like walking through a fog. Amelia moved through her apartment almost mechanically, the echo of Lucas's words lingering in every corner, in every reflection of the city lights outside her window. She felt hollow, yet beneath the ache something quietly pulsed, a tiny rhythm that didn't belong to her alone. The doctor's words had been surreal, a heartbeat, small but steady, reminding her that life was already beginning anew inside her. Shock had stolen her breath, but slowly, a fragile hope began to grow. She imagined the future, a child she had yet to meet, someone who carried a piece of her courage and a spark of her dreams. For the first time since that cold confrontation, she felt a sense of purpose beyond heartbreak. Every decision, every step she took now carried the weight of responsibility and the promise of possibility. Amelia realized that even though Lucas had dismissed her, life had not abandoned her. It had offered her a chance to become stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Nights became moments of quiet reflection rather than despair. She would talk to the tiny life inside her, whispering promises of love, safety, and a world full of possibilities. In that silent companionship, she discovered that heartbreak could be a seed, pain could be a guide, and even when someone believes you are nothing, life has a way of proving them wrong in the most extraordinary ways. Amelia felt herself changing in ways she had never imagined. The heartbreak that had once left her hollow now fueled a quiet determination, a fire she could not ignore. She immersed herself in her work, throwing energy into projects that had once felt tedious, discovering talents and strengths she hadn't realized she possessed. Long walks through the city became moments of reflection, where she envisioned a future she could shape on her own terms. Her days were no longer defined by what she had lost, but by what she was building, her independence, her courage, and the tiny life growing within her. Every glance in the mirror reminded her of the resilience she carried, a resilience born from pain yet shining with hope. Friends began to notice the change. She no longer sought validation or approval from anyone, especially not from someone who had once dismissed her heart. Amelia understood that love could hurt, but it could also inspire strength beyond measure. She promised herself that her child would grow in a world shaped by determination, love, and the unwavering belief that endings are often beginnings in disguise. The past was a shadow, but she was stepping into a light that no heartbreak could ever dim. 3 years had passed, and Amelia had become a woman transformed, confident, strong, and untouchable in ways she had never imagined. She walked into the grand hall for a business event, her presence commanding attention, her aura carrying the quiet authority of someone who had faced storms and emerged unshaken. And then she saw him, Lucas Randall, standing across the room, sharp blue eyes scanning the crowd. Time froze for a heartbeat, memories flooding back like tidal waves, but this time she didn't falter. At her side, holding her hand, was a little girl with striking blue eyes, so impossibly like his own that Lucas's expression shifted, frozen in shock. For the first time, the untouchable man seemed human, vulnerable in ways Amelia had never seen. The years had reshaped her pain into resilience, her loss into power, and her heartbreak into strength. The child she held was living proof of that transformation, a miracle born from a past he had dismissed. Lucas could no longer ignore the life and love Amelia had cultivated without him. The room, once a stage of his control, now reflected the force of her courage and the undeniable truth that she had become something he could never erase. The past had tried to define her, but the present was hers, luminous and unstoppable. Lucas finally approached, his confident stride faltering for the first time as he drew near. Amelia didn't flinch, she met his gaze steadily, the little girl clutching her hand with innocent curiosity, unaware of the tension swirling between the adults. I didn't expect, Lucas began, voice catching in a way that unsettled him more than any boardroom negotiation ever had. Amelia's calm composure held him off balance. You didn't expect what? She asked softly yet firmly. That life moves on? That people grow stronger? The years had sculpted her into someone untouchable by the past. Lucas's blue eyes flicked toward the girl, and something unspoken passed between them, a silent acknowledgement that he had missed everything that mattered. Amelia didn't need to speak the truth. Her presence, her strength, and the life she carried spoke volumes. No anger, no recrimination, just the quiet power of someone who had endured, survived, and thrived. Lucas had once made her feel small, invisible, expendable, but now she was luminous, grounded, and unstoppable. The girl's laughter, bright and untainted, echoed around them, a reminder that miracles can bloom from heartbreak, and that courage and resilience can rewrite even the cruelest of beginnings. Amelia had become the author of her own destiny. Lucas finally approached, his confident stride faltering for the first time as he drew near. Amelia didn't flinch, she met his gaze steadily, the little girl clutching her hand with innocent curiosity, unaware of the tension swirling between the adults. I didn't expect, Lucas began, voice catching in a way that unsettled him more than any boardroom negotiation ever had. Amelia's calm composure held him off balance. You didn't expect what? She asked softly yet firmly. That life moves on? That people grow stronger? The years had sculpted her into someone untouchable by the past. Lucas's blue eyes flicked toward the girl, and something unspoken passed between them, a silent acknowledgement that he had missed everything that mattered. Amelia didn't need to speak the truth. Her presence, her strength, and the life she carried spoke volumes. No anger, no recrimination, just the quiet power of someone who had endured, survived, and thrived. Lucas had once made her feel small, invisible, expendable, but now she was luminous, grounded, and unstoppable. The girl's laughter, bright and untainted, echoed around them, a reminder that miracles can bloom from heartbreak, and that courage and resilience can rewrite even the cruelest of beginnings. Amelia had become the author of her own destiny.